On this episode of Blending Bourbon, be sure to join Dixon Deadman and myself, David Mark Young, as we discuss how to maximize road trips and create savory memories.
Blending Bourbon is the podcast that takes you beyond the barrel and behind the scenes of the whiskey industry with master blenders Dixon Deadman and David Mark Young.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Blending Bourbon, podcast sponsored by Golden Sheaf. My name is Dixon Deadman of 2XO Whiskey, joined as always by my good friend David Mark Young, the master thiever of the bunghole in all of Nebraska. What's up, man? How are you? Everything good? You got a Glencairn full of water there, I see.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's new make or vodka or
Fresh distillate. I'm great, Dixon. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
You look great.
Thanks.
You combed your hair.
I didn't.
I see I left one of my V-neck t-shirts there. Or is that yours?
No, I don't. Yes, this is mine. I didn't really think this through. It's like unseasonably warm here today. But it's still like I was in Tampa
That's right.
this week, and man, that was tough to leave sunny, warm Florida for kind of gray and nasty Kentucky, but it's all good.
Yeah, sounds like Nebraska, gray season. We've got gray season going on right now.
Yeah.
How was Tampa? How are the Tampa boys? Tampa.
It's good. I mean, you know, I it's funny. Like we probably haven't talked about this or whatever, but like I was so seasoned for travel and the work travel, and it was a shock to my system when I started it in whatever 2017 or whatever. Then I got, you get used to it. Like I don't even take my toothbrush out of my dock kit, right? Like I don't even put my suitcase up because you just know that you're gonna pack it again soon.
Yep.
Like 3 days later or 4 days later, and then with COVID, this amazing Zoom world happened when you can't travel, and I was home all the time. And then when we launched 2XO last year, it was, I don't know, I just like had to kind of get back in that routine, get back in that program. And so I don't know, the trips are amazing. Like it's, but I 6 a.m. flight on Monday. I was with an account by 11 o'clock and 11 o'clock until, I don't know, you get to your room at 10:30 at night because you've been doing dinners and tastings and events, and you get up the next day and it's another man. We were at this place. I don't know if
Long
you've been
day.
there. Burn's Steakhouse. You ever heard of Burn's Steakhouse?
I've not. I've heard of it, but I've not been there.
Oh, it is. It should be on everybody's to-do list.
Yeah.
Like it's a culinary experience unlike anything. I mean, it's next. I mean, and this is, I'm a foodie. I like nice things, but this was really special. I mean, it's up there with my 11 Madison Park experiences and all this. Like it was just great. I've never been to a place before. Sorry, we're getting sidetracked here, but let's just go with it. I've never been to a place before. This is what's amazing about this place. So I do a bottle signing event at their wine and spirit store.
Okay.
Yeah, incredible. And the things they had on the shelves priced very reasonably.
Well,
I mean, there were a couple guys. It didn't get too ugly, but like they just got in some Colonel Taylor barrel proof,
oh
and
wow.
I mean, like they have stuff. They're
Yeah.
big. They're a big deal. My man Nate, who does the spirits program there, like it's and their wine. So they go back and forth with Blackberry Farm, I think, as the largest wine list in the country.
Wow.
Their wine, they have a wine warehouse. Like it's like it's insane. Their wine list is like would be like 4 or 5 letters of an Encyclopedia Britannica encyclopedia. Like it's
Wow.
that big. It's
That's
just
a lot of wine.
massive. Um, but so and prime steaks, like all this, the food was incredible, like incredible. The Psalms just kept bringing us wine, and it was. But one of the things that's super cool about this place is that when you have a dinner reservation, that comes with a reservation upstairs in their dessert
Oh,
restaurant. So you have dinner and then you go upstairs and you sit, and every table is in its own little room, like its own little enclave.
yeah.
And they have the dessert menu, and they light all the bananas Fosters on fire and do all this stuff. But they've got an after dinner aperitif or digestif, all the armagnacs and the cognacs and the brandies and the liqueurs and all. I mean,
Wow.
it can be incredibly overwhelming, but it's also an amazing experience. We sat down for dinner at 7 o'clock. I left the dessert room at 1:15.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I paid for it all day yesterday traveling home. But it was fantastic.
It sounds like it. So what did you try multiple desserts
Yes,
or
yes, we had all the dessert. Well, not all the desserts, but half the desserts. Um, an Armagnac, a cognac, a it was like an almond liqueur that we had. We actually had they do their own. They do like a cappuccino, but it's served in like a coupe glass. It's like I
oh
mean,
yeah,
just all the it was pretty incredible.
it sounds like it. So did they have any bourbon centric desserts or anything paired with a
Yeah, I
bourbon?
mean, well, and their entire bourbon list, which is epic, is available up there. Pours of just, yeah. I mean, you can't. uh, There's something for absolutely everyone.
Wow.
It was incredible. Um,
Awesome.
really
Sounds
incredible.
amazing.
They did an
Sounds
old
amazing.
fashioned. They're old, so they make their own. They make their own simple syrup and infuse it with their own house made bitters,
Oh wow.
and have this old fashioned that they do with a like a Maker's 46 barrel selection that we had. It was just one of the best old fashions I'd ever had. Um, yeah, it was great. Then
Wow.
and then on top of that, all the like the food was escargot. Some of the best
Oh
escargot I
yeah.
think I've ever had.
Really.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Sounds amazing. Tell us the name of this place again.
Burns, Berns,
Burns.
Burns. Yeah, it's a Tampa staple. First, maybe I shouldn't tell you this, but first time I ever
Yeah,
went to
have to
Tampa.
now.
This is like 2017, 2018. I get in this cab, sketchy cab. Like it's an old, like, kind of coupe de ville, kind of like
Okay, so
shag
not a
carpet
wine
on the
cab.
ceiling. Like it's it pulled it up, and I was like, this is gonna be interesting. And this guy's like, what you doing in town? And I was like, "I'm
Drink it.
doing some some bourbon stuff." And he was like, all right, man, I'm just gonna tell you right now, 2 things you need to know. I was like, okay. He said, Tampa, Burns Steakhouse.
Oh, wow.
Bourbon Steakhouse. It's like the second thing. Best strip clubs in America in Tampa. Bourbon Steakhouse and the strip clubs.
They go
And
hand
I
in
was
hand.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh, is that so? And he's like, yeah, man. We have more conventions here other than Las Vegas in the U.S. And you know what dudes want when they come to conventions? They want strip clubs. He was like, the two things you need to know about Tampa: Bourbon Steakhouse, best steakhouse in America; strip clubs, best strip clubs in America. He's like, here's my
Wow.
card. I can take you to all of them and I can get you in. And I was like, okay, I really appreciate that. Thank you for the info. And the city of Tampa did not pay me to share that information, but
The Bureau of Tourism did not. Well,
yeah, no,
we'll have to make sure that our producers tag Burns Steakhouse and the top
no,
five strip clubs in Tampa.
I guarantee you, anybody I know that spent any time in Tampa knows Bourbon Steakhouse, and I mean it's an icon. It is a national icon. It is that good. It is amazing.
I've heard of it. I've seen some Instagram, some social media posts on it, but yeah, definitely need to get out there. Well, that's great. Did you see Tom Brady moping around in Tampa by chance?
Oh yeah, Tom and I hit some.
Was he at the strip club?
Hit some clubs. Yeah.
I hear he's retiring again.
Well, we talked about it. I mean, it's not up in the air.
You got a job for him?
Well,
pull him into the bourbon space.
He's looking for something. He was asking about the 2XO brand ambassador position we may or may not have coming open. I was like, I'll see, Tom. Just send me a resume and we'll talk about it.
You know a guy.
Yeah.
He needs his own brand. Let's get that man a bourbon brand.
TB12 Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey.
Yeah. He's a single guy now. He needs to get a little wild. Come on, Tom. We can do this.
Well, I mean, Tom's out there, posting pics of himself in his underwear or whatever, right?
What social media platform are you on?
That's all over the news, dude.
Is it? I'm news averse, unless it's got to do with bourbon.
No,
I'm glad you're back.
No, it's good to be back.
Yeah,
I'm home for 10 days and then off again, but it's good. I like it. I really do. I really do. We're talk. This is not the point of this conversation, but that has become a real point of emphasis for me is like, how do we maximize the visits? Like, how do you maximize a visit? And it's really for me anyway. And I'll use this platform. Like, I'll use all, what are we up to? 17 listeners that we have. Like, I will use this, because I want to know, and I want to spend time when I'm traveling. Like, yeah, it's great. It's great when you get in a car with salespeople and they take you and you get to meet this retailer who took in X number of cases and moved through them, and you want to go and then you want to shake their hand, you want to say thank you, here's what's coming next or whatever. That's part of it. That's important. For me, I want to know if we're going, if we're going back to Omaha, I want at least to know, okay, what's the spot and what's the group that we can engage with, and we could say, hey guys, come out, this account is going to give us a table or a little side room. We're gonna, we got 2 or 3 bottles dedicated to this, and how can we kind of, on a very casual one-on-one, so to speak, how can we just, how do you connect with those people? like it's really important to connect with the retailers. It is.
Yeah.
And it's really important to spend time and really get your salespeople and distributors up to speed on your program, what you're building, what's coming.
Right.
But I mean, to be honest with you, I just like drinking bourbon with people. And I like meeting people and meeting new people and saying,
That's what
hey,
it's all about.
you know, and so I'm going to use, this is my goal, is to completely use this platform and all 18.5 listeners that we have to find out and say, hey, I'm going to be in, I don't know, Philly. Does anybody have a cousin in Philly that likes whiskey? Because if so, shoot us a note, and I want to talk to them about how we can get together.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a great way to use this platform. Matter of fact, I'm traveling tomorrow, so I'll be on the road. I'll be down in your neck of the woods.
Where are you going tomorrow?
I am heading east. I've got meetings in Illinois, Indiana.
Okay, those aren't meetings.
No, I do meetings. Yeah. I do. I've got some I have friends in Illinois, so just maximize on all the fronts. I have an event, and then it's down to Kentucky.
Just one?
Yeah, so down in Kentucky next week. Yeah, would love to. Well, it's Valentine's Day next week. Maybe I'll bring your Valentine to you. I know you're traveling the end of the week, but yeah, possibly we can connect sometime during the week. And but yeah, I love that. I let's get ahead of. The only thing is timing, right? We have to time these episodes. So you're going to have to broadcast your travel schedule out a few weeks, and but I love it. I think there's plenty of after action kind of post-mortem stuff on that you can go over as well while you're traveling.
Are you talking about after action for you? Is that for it's too much?
Briefing, where you been, what you did, talking about.
I want to tell you a story. So let's get on.
Story.
I'm going to get on track. I'm going to get us on
story
track
time
here. Yeah, let's get on track.
Okay.
So I was in Tampa, and we did a couple things. We did a couple bottle signings, and we had some time. And so I wanted to go see this retailer that's down there in Tampa. There's a total shout out to a retailer called Whiskey Willie's down there. Now, we had done some great stuff with a bigger chain account called Lucan's down there. They're freaking awesome. But there's a guy named Wally Wally and his son Michael have a store called Whiskey Willie's in the Tampa area. And quite possibly the most hospitable, kind, and just super cool people that I've met in this business. And I've known them for a long time. It took I shouldn't say it took a while, but they're very discerning with it. Like, Wally knows his shit.
Yeah.
And he put me through the ringer, and you come out on the other side, and then you're boys, like, and he's a great supporter, just a great guy. And every time I'm there, I want to go, you just go visit him. And Florida's an interesting state, right? Because they have like tasting bars right at the front of their store. And in Florida, like, you go to these retail accounts, and there's just always 5, 6, 7, 8 guys standing up there tasting whoever's new barrel pick, tasting what they just got into, like, it's it's incredible. So we walk into Whiskey Willie's, and I spent time at another place in Tampa called Corona Cigar, and Tommy at Corona Cigar they have, outside of Burns, probably one of the best whiskey lists in Tampa.
Oh, wow.
Incredible stuff. Lots of barrel picks. Tommy's been in the game for 30 plus years. So Tommy was telling me that Greg Metz was going to be in town and doing something at Corona. So we roll into Whiskey Willie's, and who's at the tasting bar but Greg.
Okay.
And all of a sudden it turns into this like great conversation and discussion, and they have all these different Old Elk. So Greg is the master distiller at Old Elk. And they're, these different single barrels. We're trying all this stuff. We're going through and thank God they had to leave, or else it could have turned into a lot.
Yeah.
But we started talking about tasting, and we started talking about tasters and people's, like, how Greg. People taste, and just like tasting with people. And it's funny, like Greg, who forgets more in a day about distilling than you and I combined will ever know in our entire lifetime. Greg, he's just like, yeah, you know what? Most of the time, I prefer a Coors Light. I mean, he's like,
love that.
And he's like, I'm a yes or no guy. I'm a like it or I don't like it guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the conversation is about tasters and tasting with people and how you taste. So follow me here, but I remember a different conversation with you. You were, we were talking about, how you, David Mark Young, King Thief of the Bunghole, had, like you were saying, that you have an entire Rolodex of tastes and smells, and like you have, they're almost like memories. They're almost like they
it's
trigger,
like a database. Yeah.
Right. And so this came up in conversation. I was saying, in my experience, I think I've mentioned this before, but I used to lead 4 or 5 tastings a week at the end back in the day. And I've decided, correctly or incorrectly, but you can really, I kind of pigeonhole people as tasters into one of 3 buckets. Like there are 3 buckets of tasters to me. The first bucket is the people who say, I like it, I don't like it. It's good, it's not good. It's a check, it's an X. It's my jam or no thank you.
Yep.
Simple. Black, white, boom. The polar opposite of that bucket are the people who are, to me, it's like an association, or I'm sorry, let's skip that. So the opposite of the yes and no is the bucket of the people who are kind of the super tasters who really have the ability to articulate exactly what they're tasting.
Right.
Like they can say, I get almond. I get whatever. I get chocolate. I get raspberry. I get it's they're and I think a lot of people try to fake it to make it in that bucket. There's a touch of lemon zest with a hint of honeysuckle, and that's a really hard thing to do. But there are that's a bucket, like the people that can really taste something and take, there's no honeysuckle in here.
Right.
There is no nutmeg in here. There is no cinnamon in here.
Right.
But there is a certain group of people that can, that pick out those notes. The bucket I love the most is the bucket of people who are it's an associative tasting. It's like, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of, as you said, this reminds me of fresh cut grass in the summer. This reminds me of chocolate chip cookies my great aunt used to make. This reminds me of the way my parents, liquor cabinet smell. Like, it's just
Corn muffins at the Beaumont Inn.
Corn muffins at the Beaumont Inn. Like, yeah, we've talked about this, but I was struck by this conversation with somebody who is obviously a very successful master distiller who, was like, yeah, I'm in that first bucket. Like, I'm a good or bad guy.
Yeah, take it or leave it.
You seem to be, or in that you taste, and if it reminds you of something that makes you happy or that you like, that you go with it. And do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just,
yeah. I'm also very nostalgic and can associate, it's like music, right? With a particular scenario, a song that might take you back to a time or something. So, same concept. Yeah, absolutely. I can take a taste. I think I have multiple outlooks on it. I'll have the sort of memory aspect where I can associate with tastes and aromas from the past, but then also I immediately want to improve something. I immediately will recognize something, an unsavory characteristic, and want to improve on it. And
but is that how you take that into blending? I mean, when I guess this all goes back to, like, when you're putting together a blend and you taste something, you say, this puts me in this place, or this triggers this memory, or this does this. Like, is it like, I'm going to ride with that, or to a certain extent, let's rewrite the history of that moment, because I have that moment in my mind in this sensory way, but I'd like to spice up the taste of that fresh cut grass from when I was 14 and pushing the lawnmower in the front yard. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting, because if I were to, so it's almost like replicating a memory. So yeah, you taste something, I takes me back to Band-Aid in a swimming pool when I was 13 years old, or I'm kidding. But some specific memory, in time, I can associate that flavor profile. But what I don't do is back into one, a memory. So, I want to
yeah
make this like, a particular moment, and then kind of back into the flavor profile. But I have had those, just recently, this week, doing some blending, where, start out with a whiskey and associate those unique flavors with a memory, and then blend it to the particular flavor profile that, I'm targeting. And then, it creates another memory, transitions it into a whole nother scenario. Just kind of had that happen this week, kind of dealing with some of the finished products that we have, some of the sweeter maple finishes and honey and that sort of thing. Mead.
So like when you're tasting stuff, like do you take a lot of notes? Like when you're tasting these blends, do you take a lot of, like, if you looked at your notebook, if we looked at your notebook, like would it say 5th grade punch at, first middle school dance, or whatever, like is that a tasting note that you write, or you know what I'm saying? But like, is that how you articulate it on paper so that when you go back to it,
Yeah, it hasn't been, but the deeper I get into this, the more barrels we acquire and the more expressions we put out, I'm trying to be better with my note taking. So I've started to do, only recently started to do that, to where I had, when you said punch, I was thinking of punch in the mouth and dried blood and different memory, wrestling practice.
Got your ass kicked a lot back in the day. Huh?
But yeah, so my notes, matter of fact, I decided, okay, I'm gonna start fresh with a new notebook. So I went and got a new notebook, and I want to fill this thing up, every month with all of these tasting notes.
It's so funny though. Like I've done it. I admittedly have done it. Like people are like, I'd love to see your notes. And it's like, okay, here. It's a
journal.
20 plus tasting notebooks of all the, and then, you, like people get into them and they're just like, the hell is this? And it's like, I don't, yeah, this is a very like personal thing, and this makes total sense to me. To you,
right. Yep.
This probably looks like, what someone who's been stuck in, I don't know, solitary confinement for 20 years is like,
mm-hmm.
Right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Wax lips on Halloween after eating a Tootsie Roll. What? Yeah, absolutely. It means nothing to anybody else, but I can decipher it. I know what it means. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, because I find myself in that I do the same thing. I taste something, and I want to get on paper, what I feel about it. And that's exactly what it ends up being, is more what I feel about it than like specific, it's a little heavy on the spice and touch bitter or whatever. And it's more like, I don't know, it's just,
I've started to use terms like pleasant and easy and even happy. This brings a smile to my face. This makes me think of a bright sunny day, or this makes me, think of
I did
gray season.
I had these great friends in New Jersey, and they would ask me to come on these Four Roses barrel picks with them all the time. NJ Char Society, great group. And there was one of the ladies who was in that group, just incredible. And she would come down and they'd have like all 10 recipes of Four Roses out on the table. Right. And when she came in, she put in AirPods and she didn't talk to anybody. She didn't want to hear what anybody was saying. And so, but she was an artist. And so she would kind of smell the first one, taste the first one, and then sketch something. Yeah. And maybe it's like a frog on a lily pad, whatever. Yeah. And then she moved to the second one. And it was like, it was so incredible. And then, like one time we were doing it and there was this barrel and it was head and shoulders above every barrel. I mean, it was everybody's number one. And on her page, it was a literal unicorn jumping over a rainbow. Like that was a sketch and I was like,
that's awesome.
But it's kind of funny, to think about how we all, you, me, anybody else that does this, like how do you categorize, how do you articulate your thoughts on paper about something so that you can use that to to make something better. And it's just funny because I think, a lot of people assume that it's this straightforward, like there's, and everybody has their own language for that. Everybody has their own way of articulating their, like capturing their thoughts. As you progress through, whether it's selecting a barrel or creating a blend or just evaluating a liquid, it's very interesting. And it just struck me as funny. We had that blending conversation, and then you were talking about this Rolodex that you have, and I mean, I think it would be a great exercise just for fun to send you a box of samples and say, let's see what this Rolodex comes up with.
Yeah. What comes to mind? Yeah. That's something that I discovered. I wouldn't call it photographic. I wouldn't call it a photographic memory, but it's definitely, different than reading a book or reading, something. I don't even think about it, but I can look around the room and look at certain things and immediately think of a smell and a taste. Things that you wouldn't even
right. But I think
think
that's what makes what you're doing very well, and what I hope to do interesting is you have like the bigger brands and the bigger players, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but they're trying to achieve the exact same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Right.
So from that perspective, when they get samples, they're very much, yes. Sorry, that was supposed to be a check. Yes, that checks the box. It fits into the window of the profile we're trying to achieve, or X, it's outside of this.
Yeah.
Blending and being a great blender and a great creator and a great developer and understanding the maturation of liquid and what happens with that. We're trying to create unique expressions every time that take you on a different journey each time. And that journey can be a yes or no. It can be, wow, there's a lot more red fruit in here than the last one and a little bit less of the chocolate and s'more. Or it can be, you know what, that first one was like, what's like that first one was caramel delight, Girl Scout cookies, and this one reminds me more of raspberry sorbet, from or whatever. It's just it just kind of depends on how you look at it. But I think I do think I talked to people. I had this conversation with this guy the other day. He's like, I really want to work on my palate. Like I really want to work on, I want to be better at, and I said, well, quit trying to be the guy that can pick out 6 notes on the nose and 6 notes on the taste and 3 things about the finish.
Right.
Just open yourself up to where do you go with it? When you taste it, where do you go? What does it remind you of? What does it make you think of? What's the first thing that comes in your head? And that can be super weird. Like that doesn't have to, like, it's not something you have to publish, and you don't have to share it with anybody. Like it can be super bizarre, this reminds me of, I don't know, like the toy section at Walmart, whatever. That's like, okay, do you like that or you not like that? Like,
Yeah, for sure. I get it. I think I love how you've categorized these different, because I know, those folks that are going to sit down and they're going to taste and they are going to tell you a story, something in time, a place. They're going to paint a picture for you, which is interesting. But
it's awesome because it makes it personal. It needs to be personal. It's a personal thing. Like, I don't need your shelf talker to tell me what Golden Sheep tells like. Right. It's what you get. It's where you are. It's where it takes you.
Yeah. And that's why I don't try to. So tasting notes to me, I'll, if there's something obvious, if there's something that, bold, heavy, or light, something that's a good character descriptor. But too many times I've sat down with people that will taste something and they're pulling stuff out that this is honeydew melon, or this is, bee pollen, or, the back of a Post-it note, or, something that only they can, relate to in their head. I was going to ask you, have you gone back and replicated any of your older blends, or tried to replicate them? And, even knowing what the mash bill is and what the proof is, and how close.
It's really funny. Because, essentially I had everything in one, like, I don't know. Next time you come to my office, you're gonna be like, holy shit, where did all this stuff come from? Like, if you thought I had a bunch of bourbon in my office before,
I'm coming next week.
I've gotten rid. I had some storage things that I just moved everything here to my office, and what's been kind of crazy and really cool is, I got a box, and this box has all 14, 15, I don't know how many are in there, 20 test blends I made for batch 8. And, it's just kind of funny to go back through them and, I like to taste the one I landed on versus some of these other ones. And, just, I guess it's a little bit of nostalgia and a little bit of like, I wonder if I go back and taste these, and would I have made the same decision? 9 times out of 10, having done it a few times, the answer is yes. Like, I got to a place I was really happy, but, I always think of it like I'm working in that moment, right? Like, it's in that moment. Mm-hmm. The samples are what they are in that moment. I have them
right
there to work with. And, I didn't then. I kind of do now, but, it's like you pull a bunch of samples and it's a snapshot of what you have, and you've got 6, 8, 10 different components to work with in that moment, and you put together the best thing you can, at that time, and that's what you produce. And if you did the same, if you had the same thing but it was 6 months later, all of that liquid is going to be different. It's going to have changed. It's going to, and I truly, that's why I created 2XO the way I created it. And that's what you're doing. And that's what's so much fun about it, is like, it's just different. You start with a blank canvas each time. Like, not like I've got to recreate this thing. I'm starting blank, and I've got, in this moment, I've got this stuff to work with to make the best thing I can make. And And that, I mean, I think that's a challenge. And also like, that's the part I enjoy the most. And then you put something together and you go share it with people, and you have these people that are like, you know what? It's not my thing. Or you have these people that are like, this is phenomenal. And then you have people that are like, I'm getting a touch of burnt marshmallow, a little bit of graham cracker, some nougat. And then you move into a little bit of Bing cherry. And then the finish is equal parts white pepper and a hint of nutmeg. And then you have other people that are like, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of, you know, my grandmother used to make these, dark chocolate almond cookies every year on Christmas. You know, and that's okay. We've got, it's just cool. It's just really cool.
Right. I would love to have all of these flavors on hand and be able to conjure up something when someone describes something that, you know, it's got all of these different things in it, and be able to throw some vanilla and some almonds and some chocolate and come up with that, you know, and then compare and contrast. I get it. You know, everybody's different, and there's so many factors that go into it. One of the things that you just said that really resonated was it's a snapshot in time, because just yesterday we were pulling samples from some of the components we had in one of our previous batches, and we hadn't tasted them in a while. And these are, 8-year plus bourbons, and they got a lot better in just 6 months time. And oh my gosh. So now similar, but some of the, I don't care to use the term unsavory, but I don't really know how else to describe it. But some of the less savory components of these bourbons have rounded off on their own. And it's interesting to taste these things as they evolve. You know, and that's exactly it. 6, 7, I guess 2, 3, 4. Yeah. About 7 months ago, we took this and incorporated it into a batch, and it's, a third part of that blend. But now it's 7 months later, and this stuff is different. It's going to add it's going to contribute a whole new, different set of flavors to the blend. So I'm excited about that.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff.
I'm sure I'll taste it in like 2025.
I'll bring some down next week. I'm coming to see you next week. We're going to do a podcast. Yeah. Another podcast from Kentucky.
All right, brother. Well, sorry. I think I don't know if we accomplished anything, but
I think this was great. It's always a great talk. And by the way, to clarify, we're beyond, what did you say, 16 or however many followers. We're, going over some of the numbers with our producers, spread across all of the platforms that we're in. We're hitting all the numbers. So that's great. Man, thanks to everybody for watching.
Pumped about some of the stuff we got back. People wanting to come on. We got to do that soon. Yes. Like just a straight up, like bring some people on and say, hey, here, just ask these two idiots anything you want to ask, and
let's drink some whiskey and have some random fun. I love that. Yeah,
absolutely.
We've got some fans. We've got some followers. We've got some folks that chime in. We also
got some really, really cool people lined up to come on the show too.
We do.
It's going to be good.
Super excited about that. Good. Cooler than you, cooler than me. Yep.
Definitely.
All right. Well, cheers to you, sir.
Cheers, brother.
As always.
Have a great afternoon.
You too.
Do all that.
Follow, like, share, subscribe, all of those great things. We want to continue to hear more, and see you next time on the Blending Bourbon Podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.